Denial, the sweetest cage of all. A velvet prison that doesn't bind, with iron but with illusions. It isn't the bars that keep you confined. No, it's the false comfort, the soft blanket of lies you drape over yourself, whispering, everything is fine. Denial is the deadliest comfort zone, a realm where reality dares not intrude, where the sharp edges of truth blur and dissolve. It hums lullabies of safety, convincing you that nothing needs to shift, that facing what's real is an unnecessary wound you can ignore, and so you hide, curling into the silence of avoidance, blind to the storm clawing at your door. But denial is no refuge, it's a trap in disguise, a poison that dulls your senses while the world smolders around you. In its haze, you convince yourself you're shielded from pain, from fear, from truth, but really, you're sinking, drowning in stagnation. Denial sedates you into believing that stillness equals survival, when, in fact, it's the slowest suicide. The walls you've erected for safety have hardened into a tomb, locking you away from the very life you pretend to protect. Comfort zones are treacherous because they masquerade as safety nets, resting places, havens, but that's the trick, that's the lie. Denial whispers that growth, risk, change, those are enemies, but it's not truth you're fleeing, it's the agony of admitting it. Every moment in denial is a silent pact to stay small, to wither while faking vitality. It's cowardice dressed up as self-preservation. And the cost? It's everything. Denial doesn't cradle you, it suffocates you. Each day lost to it is stolen time, wasted potential, fragments of yourself rotting away. The truth may cut deep, but it's the only scalpel sharp enough to sever your chains. Denial lies, warning that the unknown will destroy you. The opposite is true. Staying in its haze is the real death, the silent corrosion from within. And you know this. You feel it, gnawing at you. Denial doesn't protect you, it enslaves you. Every second you cling to its illusion, you bleed out life, opportunity, identity. You become hollow, existing instead of living, until nothing remains but the echo of what you refused to become. Denial isn't just a prison, it's a cycle, an endless loop that drags you back again and again, blind to the fractures widening beneath your feet. As long as you bow to it, you are not safe, you are decaying. Your life, the fractures, the flaws, the weaknesses, those unseen shackles keep tightening you. Whisper to yourself, it's fine, this is how it's supposed to be, that the weight you carry is normal, that the discomfort is just life. But beneath it all the cracks widen, and until you face them you remain trapped, stuck in that endless cycle, never moving forward, never transforming, just surviving. It's the slowest kind of self-destruction, and the longer you pretend not to see it, the deeper you sink into the pit of mediocrity. To deny is to delay. It's the cruelest form of self-betrayal, telling yourself that if you ignore it long enough it will heal itself, but that is not the truth. The flaws, the fractures, they don't vanish because you close your eyes. They grow, they rot, they eventually consume. Denial is no armor, it's a blindfold. As long as you wear it, you alone never see the places where change is needed, and without sight you repeat the same cycle, making the same choices, living the same empty life. It is a fate more brutal than failure, because failure at least teaches. Denial only keeps you bound the way out. It's not soft, not easy, not dressed in the illusions society sold you. It's harsh, it's unforgiving. It demands you rip away the blindfold and stare into the emptiness of your own shortcomings to accept you are far from your true self, to admit your current state is not your highest potential. Most run from this moment, terrified of what they'll see when the mask shatters. And who can blame them? Society spoon-fed a script since birth, telling them what to value, what to chase, what to desire. But that script is false. It's a cage, and if you follow it blindly you inherit a life written by others, not a life born of who you truly are. All along you've been told how to act, what to want, which dreams to follow, which roads to take. You've been handed a design that was never yours, built for the masses, the obedient, the ones who never question. But what if you pause? What if for a single breath you stop running the endless race and begin asking why do I believe this? Why am I chasing this? Why do these things matter to me at all? Those are the questions denial dreads, the questions that shatter the foundation of everything you thought. Unshakable freedom is painful, because to be free you must destroy the life you built on false ground. It means admitting that all you've wanted might have been shaped by another's design, another's control, and that is terrifying to face, that you've lived too long on a script that was never yours. You've been nothing more than a gear in someone else's contraption, turning to their rhythm instead of forging your own, built to fit into their blueprint, not the one you might have drawn for yourself. But without pausing, without that single moment of clear-eyed honesty, how will you ever draft a life that actually belongs to you? How will you become the architect of your own fate if all your hands do is scaffold someone else's dream? Denial is the comfortable option. It lets you coast, lets you breathe, without doing the heavy work of change. Survival becomes the default and complacency the reward. But surviving is no longer enough. The life that waits for you, the one worth waking for, requires more than merely getting by. It demands you face the gaps, the failing, supports the corners where rot has set in. That means looking straight at reality, naming what's broken, and then dismantling it without flinching. You can't merely acknowledge your situation and call it progress. You must expose it, tear it down, and rebuild it from the foundations upward. Those who never pause, who never interrogate their own choices, remain trapped in the same loop forever. The ones who stop, who ask the hard questions, who refuse the soft comforts of the familiar, they're the ones who break free. They peel away the layers of conditioning, the habits handed down like heirlooms, and begin to craft something authentic. They design lives that reflect their true selves, not the prepackaged versions society supplied at birth. That is the only exit from denial. Quit hiding, quit pretending, and confront the raw, uncomfortable truth about who you are and who you could be if you dared. When you finally stop running and the illusion collapses, the real work begins. Many mistake acceptance for the finish line, but acceptance is only step one. Without something far grimmer, without ruthless, relentless commitment, acceptance is empty. Commitment is the true test. It strips away escape routes, removes the safety net, and forces you into the long, grinding labor of change. Committing terrifies most because it requires sacrifice. Once you bind yourself to a path, there is no soft retreat when things get nasty. You must stare down failure and keep moving. Those who never commit, the dabblers, the perpetual samplers, are the true captives. They are trapped, not by circumstance but by indecision, by an unwillingness to anchor themselves to anything real. Without commitment, life fragments into distraction, quick thrills, half starts, 1,000 shallow directions that leave you thin and hollow. To commit to nothing is to drift, to watch time erode you until you become an outline of a person. The road out demands you choose, and choosing demands you cut away the safe illusions and accept the discomfort of building something lasting. Only then does your life become yours rather than a rerun of someone else's script. Mercy of the world's whims, you become a puppet tugged by invisible strings, carried by every new fad, every shallow spark, every hollow craving. It's a life made of fragments, stitched together with cheap thrills that dissolve as fast as they arrive, leaving you emptier than before. An unanchored mind is chaos's playground, chasing every glittering escape from the weight of doing nothing real. But what you fail to see is that the ache in your chest, that quiet misery, is born from this distraction. It is the harvest of a life lived aimlessly, stripped of direction, drained of purpose. And that is a death that masquerades as life, breathing but lifeless, present yet lost, buried in noise, with no path to walk because you never chose to take one. Commitment is the blade that slices through the fog, the force that gives your life form and definition. Without it, you drift endlessly, waiting for the world to patch the hole inside you, but nothing external can ever fill that void. Not comforts, not distractions, not the cycle of empty indulgence. Only when you choose to bind yourself to something fully, ruthlessly, do you begin to reclaim the power you've wasted. Misery, then, is a choice made daily by those who refuse to anchor themselves to anything greater than the temptations scattered around them. It's a quiet spiral into madness, disguised by the sugar rush of momentary pleasures, while the soul wastes away in silence. The world is crowded with dabblers, with hesitators, with wanderers who flirt with every path but never walk any. They fear commitment because it means discipline, because it demands sacrifice, because it forces them to endure the friction of pursuing something real. But those who commit wholly, who hand themselves over to a cause, a path, an idea, those are the ones who tap into power beyond reach. For the rest, in a landscape drowning in distraction, it is the committed who rise. The uncommitted are left wandering in circles forever, shadow chasing, forever feeding a void that only grows hungrier with every passing moment of indecision. A committed soul is dangerous, unstoppable. Once you anchor yourself, the noise fades, the chaos dulls, and in that silence blooms clarity. Focus sharpens, distractions crumble, and you stop chasing and start building. It does not matter what you commit to, so long as it is true and so long as it is total, because in that moment you stop being prey to the world. You stop drifting and take the helm, the architect of your own fate. and that is power in its purest form. The world does not want you to wield it, for a committed person cannot be bent, cannot be bought, cannot be controlled. But those who resist it, those who cling to endless options, become slaves to everything. Every passing desire pulls them under, while the committed carve their own path forward. Away from themselves, every fleeting wave drags them further from the life they were meant to live. They traded depth for distraction, meaning for surface illusions, and in doing so, they sentenced themselves to a quiet despair, a life where nothing takes root, where everything begins but nothing ends, where days blur into sameness, because no true path was ever chosen. And so, after acceptance comes the most brutal demand of all, commitment. It's not enough to simply see the truth of where you are. You must choose where you're going, and once chosen, you must walk that road with ruthless consistency. Without it, you'll remain trapped, spinning endlessly, tethered to nothing, haunted by the silence of wasted potential. Change, the word itself, makes most recoil, clutching their comforts as though they were shields. But here's the truth. Intelligence is not proven by how much you know, how many facts you've stored, or how clever you sound. No, true intelligence is revealed in your ability to change. Adaptation, evolution, these are the marks of those who rise. Anyone can learn, anyone can parrot knowledge, but few have the courage to step into the furnace of transformation willingly. Most people fear change because it demands dismantling. It asks them to destroy the illusions they've worshipped, the lies they've clung to, the fragile scaffolding of their identity. It requires tearing down and rebuilding into something sharper, stronger, untouchable. The weak, refuse, clinging to decay. The foolish, double down on outdated beliefs, terrified that in letting go they will dissolve into nothing. But those who carry true intelligence, beyond books, beyond trivia, beyond imitation, know the truth. Change is the only constant. Stagnation is death. To resist it is to rot inside your own prison, watching the world evolve without you. Those who embrace change, who burn and rebuild, are the ones who rise, the ones who thrive. They molt like snakes, discarding skins that no longer serve, stepping forward, leaner, harder, more prepared for the chaos ahead. Change is not gentle, it tears like claws through flesh. It demands sacrifice, it kills your former self and devours your comforts whole. Most can't survive such violence against their own identity. They prefer the safety of familiarity, the lie of stability. But what they do not see is that clinging to the same is the greater danger, for to resist change is to be left behind, irrelevant, powerless, a relic rusting while the world storms forward without you.